All right, all right, all right. It's that time again. Well, I am back for another open court discussion live in the Counselor's Corner. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the Controversial Counselor. Not here yet. Haven't heard from the Wolf, but uh, the normal co-host, the big bad Wolf, Herb Lewis, still waiting. But I'm gonna roll on. I'm gonna roll on. Don't know how long I'm gonna be on, but I'm gonna roll on. So tonight, Monday, December 2nd, 9 p.m. EST, we will be discussing the topic family. Can't live with them, can't live without them. Family is supposed to be our safe haven, but what happens when it becomes a source of stress and conflict? Welcome to our conversation on Family Feud. We will discuss several factors that causes families to feud. Here are some of the common factors. Number 1, miscommunication and misunderstandings. Number 2, power struggles and control issues. Number 3, financial disputes. Number 4, past traumas and unresolved issues. Number 5, different values and lifestyles. Number 6, egos and pride. Number 7, external factors. Number 8, lack of emotional intelligence and conflict resolution skills. And number 9, family dynamics and roles. And finally, number 10, unrealistic expectations. This is right on time as we start having more family gatherings during the holiday season or lack of togetherness because of some of the issues above. Please like and share our video. And don't forget to tell your granny to tell another granny to subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. We were sitting at 928, lost one, down to 927 with no progress. But hey, family, have you all subscribed? If not, why are you holding back? Okay, so that's another story for another day. So here we are, live in the counselor's corner. I appear to be Roland Dolo. Maybe maybe the rescue crew, I don't know what they're called, came and picked up came and picked up the big bad wolf. I don't know. But anyways, any housekeeping information. Really don't have nothing. School went back in session today. It's kind of low key day. No complaints. Uh, I hope everybody had a great time over the holidays with their family and friends, and we're about this really swing into this holiday season, and we always talk about you know sometimes it's not a joyous occasion for everyone because a lot of times people lost significant others and they get down and out during this time of the year, so just be mindful of that. uh, hey Daphne, how you doing? She said the wolf pack. Yeah, somebody must came and got him. I might have to send um, police out there to do a wellness check. But um, that's about it on my end. Like I said, back to work today, and now I got to go through this little stretch of 2 or 3 weeks. I think like 3 weeks, and trust me, behaviors tend to get out of control during this time for some because hey, they may not be expecting anything for Christmas, so they like shit. You can't take nothing away from me. I'm not getting anything, so it may be their time to show out when the lights is bright. Um, you said, did I text him? No, I didn't text him. I mean, I text him the link to the show, and usually he's on here, but didn't text his number or anything. Um, I just automatically assumed, uh, but you know what they say about a person who assumes stuff. Uh, but he may still pop up, but if not, I'm just gonna roll with I, I doubt if I would go through the whole uh 10 things that reasons on why families feud, but I'll try to knock out 4 or 5. You said 14 days and counting. Yeah, yes indeed. Yes indeed. Damn show counting down. So when we look at this subject, not everything is peaches and cream when it comes to family. And these type of events kind of bring out everybody during the holiday season. And it would be a wonderful thing if you could get through an event without any debates or um, arguments or face offs. But a lot of times, there's always going to be someone or somebody that's going to come in and kind of change up the dynamics or kind of make stuff shift the other way when things were good. So we're going to jump right into it. So the first one was miscommunication and misunderstandings. You can't minimize how many times that happens. And in this day and age, as we talk about, texting and people not, picking up the phone, that creates opportunities for miscommunication or misunderstanding. People, get their panties or drawers all ruffled up when people use cap locks, talking about, oh, you yelling at me. Who really I mean, who really buys into that? Well, a lot of people do. But so that creates a lot of opportunities for that miscommunication and misunderstanding. But one of the things is, a lot of times when you think about that, it's the unresolved conflicts, um, things that you know hasn't been resolved, and it might have been something from the previous family outing. But you say, well, that was a couple months ago, and you think you could just show back up, everything's going to be all good. And then when you throw alcohol into the equation, then guess what? It ain't all good. Daphne said, most definitely, or they say they heard how you text me, laughing my ass off. Definitely creates misunderstanding. Yeah, big facts on that. So those unresolved conflicts, and sometimes people just want to mediate, and they say, "Oh, just you just leave," or think that that's gonna solve the issue. That if one person goes home, or you might say, oh, I'm gonna just drive you home, and you just gonna chill. You might have had too much to drink, but they still gotta come back together. They still gotta come back together, especially if it's a close knit family and you know that they're gonna be at the next function. Sooner or later, you gotta give them. They gotta have that life space, or that time away, but then you gotta bring it back together that they can kind of squash it, because in all sincerity and all reality, some people have these unresolved conflicts that go on for years and years and years with people without speaking. And it could be something minor. So that's one of the issues when you think about the unresolved conflicts. Daphne said people have to be able to see other people's perspectives. No, people don't want to put the shoes on the other foot, or even have you know empathetic listening skills. They only see their way, and they don't take the time to say, like, damn, if I was in that predicament, how would I handle it? How would I feel? So it's important to sometimes take a step back and to say, if this was happening to me, or if this was going on in my life, how would I be able to, you know, solve it, or how would I feel about it? Um, what else? What else? Unexpressed emotions. And Daphne, you said, and different perspectives can lead to resentment and anger. So if you don't see somebody's um, perspective, or you don't take the time to try to act like you're vested in that person's perspective, it's going to lead to resentment or anger. But that other piece, that unexpressed emotions, where people just holding it all in, not saying anything, they know they got something they want to get off their chest. They're waiting for that person to come through. And then when they show up, nothing's said, nothing's done. And they harbor all those feelings there. And then they're having side conversations after the fact. Oh, I wanted to say something to him or her, but I didn't want to, um, all the family was around, so I didn't want to cause a scene. But the stuff is still eating them up inside. And it becomes hard to attend family functions when you're going through that. Some people would just say, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna stay home, I'm just gonna chill, and I'm gonna be all right. But then years and years and years go by, and uh, people pass away, people are only a shell of themselves, and then, next thing you miss out on opportunities. So that's number one. Number two, power struggles and control issues. Well, we know it's a lot of that going on. Everybody wants to be the top dog. Everybody wants to be the big dog in the family. So you have like that tug of war, like I'm running shit, and really, probably neither one of you are. But everybody, wants to have that power struggle or control issues. And sometimes the control issue may be where the function is taking place. Could be at someone's house, and they got want to control everything. They're, you know, if something is moved or something is touched, they're upset. After a while, they're ready to kick everybody out, and it's still early. And you know how your family does, but you want to tell everybody it's time to go, because essentially you like that control, and you like for people to be at your mercy, and which isn't cool, when especially when you have people who you know might have traveled from out of town, or they're saying, hey, I don't come around too often, but hey, I'm in it for the long haul. Then you have someone that may have control issues and want to control the whole environment. And sometimes that definitely is going to cause feuds, or either again resentment, or people just saying, I ain't coming through there no more. I ain't coming. I'm not coming by. So let me break that down further for you folks. Well, I don't know if it ain't gonna seem like it's too many people watching, but that's okay. You know me, I clip the hell out of a show, and you'll get it one way or the other. Uh, so when we talk about the power struggle, family members may disagree on decisions, values, or boundaries, leading to power struggles and conflicts. So it's always going to be some type of argument or discussion that values go into place. Remember a couple of weeks ago, I said a lot of times when we talk about domestic disputes between women and men, a lot of it has to do with values. Like people have their own set of values, and it kind of interferes, or they kind of stand 10 toes down on what they believe in. And, you know, and the other person may not slightly believe in that, or maybe totally don't believe in it. Then next thing you know, you got issues. You got issues going on. So you got to be mindful of that. the power struggles and the control issues. I mean, the saying always say, you know, you know, you're welcome in my house, whatever, treat it like it's yours. That's just crap. That's just crap. Maybe they meant that back in the days. I don't know. I don't know if they meant it, but it's something that's always thrown out there. But then when you get to a certain place, because some people won't come to a family function if it's held in certain places. They'll say, hell no, I ain't going over there. Ain't no way. Last time they cut up or they kicked us out or and all that stuff, I'm not about to do that. I'm bringing, my children, they young, they like to run around. They got to be on pins and needles. If they touch something or whatever the case is, nah, we're not about to go over there. We just going to chill right up in our spot. We're going to have us a good time and not have to worry about the riffraff. Um, what else? What else? What else? What else? Uh, so that's number two. Then look at three, financial disputes. So we know how that goes down. We definitely know that's an issue. And as far as that, hey, when you owe somebody money, I think the great Dave Ramsey said that before. Uh, Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner doesn't taste the same. Um, when someone you owe someone, three, four, $500, it could be a couple hundred, it could be 100. The fact is, they ask could they hold it or could they borrow some money, and then they show up faithfully every year and haven't acknowledged anything about their debt. And you see them coming through laced up uh, with new gear, new whip outside they pulling up in, but they haven't said anything. But they had no problems calling you when they needed that loan. But all of a sudden, you know what they say? He or she, they got it. They don't need it. They good. They make enough. You can't count people's pockets. That $400 or $500 could be for their emergency funds, or could be toward their child who's going to college and may need some books, or just overall, just some extra money, funds. If you're gonna ask and you're gonna use the word, uh, can I hold? Can I borrow something? And you don't pay up, you're gonna have disputes, which especially if it's family members. In this case, it don't matter who it is. But just don't assume and say they got it. Oh, they make over six figures. They not hurting. You don't do that. You don't do that. If you do it, if you're one who does it and you burn bridges, it could be some. It could be a dire straight situation where you definitely needing that person. Like, don't call me. Don't even think about it. So again, money matters. Uh, and then we got to talk about when someone passes and everybody, the family is all tripping because they don't want, uh, they don't, they want to make sure no one gets more than they got, or who was this left to, and all types of stuff that causes families to feud and may not even speak. And some don't never speak again. Or again, let's say financial support can create tension and conflict within families. So, that's another thing. As far as like financial support, child support, it could be a ton of things. And even if you look at the child support issue, people talk, and people connect with each other, and next thing you know, you come around and your whole business is out there about you ain't paid this, or you owe this woman all this child support, or vice versa. They may it could be a female and a woman, and the family saying that's a damn shame how much money she try to get out of him. Like, he's a good dad, he's always there helping them out, and then for her to keep running back and forth to court with him, making him pay all this money, it ain't right. So a lot of discussions like that take place, that probably people would say that ain't everybody's business, but yet and still people like to throw stuff out there. Hold on, just trying to see. Just got an inbox. Uh, oh, something else. Okay. All right. So that was three of them. And this conversation looks different when you have someone else chiming in, but I just didn't want to build something up and then not be able to talk about it. So I'm gonna move on to number 4. So I'm gonna do 5. Then next week might come back with it again, recap the first 5, and then finish off the other ones. So number 4. What's number 4? Number 4. Mind me, I'm trying to keep my notes. Past traumas and unresolved issues. Again, I talked about this in my promo to the show. And everybody know those family secrets where you have that uncle, aunt, cousin that they have a history of touching little girls or boys. And as the children get older, they start speaking about it. But you know what? Sometimes the older people may say, "Oh, don't air out dirty laundry," or believe that my brother ain't do that, or my husband, and you know how it goes. But 3 or 4, 5 kids been talking about it, and but yet and still, no one ever made a report because the family says, you can't do that to him. You can't do that to you can't do that to Uncle Willie. You can't do that. You can't do that. And you say, well, as the parent, my child is okay. They're all right. So we're not going to put Uncle Willie in jail. But you don't know the pain that trauma may cause that child. And then year after year, they have to look at, um, and I'm only using because I started off by saying Uncle Willie. So I'm only using that. Uh, and I'm just going to ride that theme. And they have to look at Uncle Willie. And as they get older, some of them want to say, I should beat his ass. I should get this knife and stab him. And I know that seems real violent, but that probably plays in the back of people's head sometimes when you have you know, these functions, and it's real. So I don't know what can make it better. Family dynamics is family dynamics, but still at the same time, know that that's causes feuds like the trauma. And that's only one element of the trauma and unresolved. We kind of already talked about unresolved issues, but sometimes you have those deep rooted issues in families that that's never been solved. And I think the more family events people have, the more it surfaces, but no one kind of talks about it. They go by that saying, well, what didn't kill you can make you stronger. But sometimes people be dying inside and have a lot of vengeance in them, and they really can't progress or move forward because they never address that integral part of their life. So, hey, just something to think about. Something to think about. Uh, and five different values and lifestyles. No, that's going to be an issue because there's always going to be discussions, and sometimes people have different. Those values is can cause a lot of feuds, and then lifestyles. People have different lifestyles. Some people like to party all the time. That's what they like to do, or they like to have extravagant functions, or they may think, oh, this stuff is too low budget here. Oh, we don't do paper plates, whatever. My family, we eat off the best, so this not gonna work. Or you know, could be a religious thing. You're a Muslim, and, is this food made with pork? Uh, did you use the same utensils to get it? All types of different things come up, which causes feuds. And people say, "Shit, I cook this. I eat pork, so don't come here telling me how to prepare my meals. Did you bring anything, or whatever the case is?" So just little things like that can lead to all types of commotion. So, and we wonder why. But we always try to sweep it on the rug, say, "Oh man, some people just don't know how to act." But it's real. And I'm only giving you like lower surface stuff that, well, I ain't gonna say it's lower surface. Some of the stuff is deep, but for me, giving from my perspective, and this is just the start of how things transpire. So if anyone's tuning in, or you catch a clip of it, then just think about, as the month of December goes on, um, and you're having different functions, just be conscious of what you're doing or what you're saying, and also realize that sometimes that may be a significant family member, their last function. Not because they're going to rebel. They may not see it. They may not see another one. They may not live to see another one. So it's always important to, you know, try to have laughter, create memories, and have fun for the time being. Uh, I can't say put all the BS to the side because, again, some of that stuff, excuse me, is going to come up. Is going to come up. And unfortunately, as I said said in the introduction, family's supposed to be our safe haven. Well, if you can't bring this up during that time, when could I bring it up? So you just got to be prepared. But remember this, it's not what a person says to you, it's how you respond to it. And that's how you gain control, your response. If you're a loose cannon every time, uh, then shit, no matter what anybody says to you, and you respond in a certain way, you're probably gonna get the same results. You're not gonna gain control until you start responding differently and say, "Man, I move past that shit," or "That stuff you talking don't even bother me anymore." But if you still get triggered, or you still respond the same way every time, you got a lot of healing to do. So just wanted to throw some of the this subject matter to lead off into this conversation, um, and we'll carry it on because, hey, December just started, And I know the importance of, when family comes together to try to leave these situations in a peaceful way. Be able to walk away and say, man, I had a good time. I can't wait to see them again, instead of adding more stress to your plate and more heartache and pain. And but knowing that you're still probably going to be that person who's going to attend every family function, but after each function, things don't sit in well with you, and you kind of enter there with your game face on, like, okay. And you can never be yourself because you always like on the defensive. um so just think about that, people. Again, I don't want to belabor the point. This conversation looks different when you have other people sharing their experiences. Thank you, Daphne, for giving your participation in the chat. Again, I might got to do a wellness check on the big bad wolf. I hope the SPCA or somebody lock him up, or as Daphne said, the wolf pack. But um, I don't want to just go on with this conversation when it has more layers to it with other people, with other participation. Even if it's just Herb, sometimes he'll say something. Oh, the wolf is just popping in. Nope. PTA picked you up. That was the word. They came
No,
through.
man, hit the snooze button. At least I thought I did, and I turned around, look, I'm like 9:30. I'm like, oh shit. Ah. Had a busy day, man. Was running around since noon, doing a bunch of stuff, getting ready for the winter, and I just didn't lay down until about 6:30, man. I was like, yeah, woo, shit.
I said, I have to do a wellness check, whatever.
I could have sworn I hit snooze on my alarm because I always had my alarm set for 8:40. It went off.
Uh-huh.
I said, all right, let me hit the snooze button. Oh shit.
Yeah,
Mm.
so I kind of, the topic is you know family can't live with them, can't live without them, family feuds. And I kind of went through briefly, like I told the um audience. We don't know if many people, that people could be watching it, just don't say it up here.
Yeah.
um but I kind of gave them brief, the top five ones where I talked about miscommunication and misunderstanding. So
A lot of
if
that.
you got something, if you want to add to that part, I kind of just talked about a lot of messages get conveyed in like text messaging and different things like that people don't get a full understanding
Mm-hmm.
of something because it's through text, or it could be just a situation that you thought was resolved, but it wasn't resolved. And then it just always leads to some type of feud. So, what's your thinking on miscommunication and misunderstanding with family?
And you know the bigger part of that from what I've seen, and I see it every so often that creeps up, not necessarily in my family per se, because we'll be texting something, and it was matter of fact, I'll use this analogy. Brother that is married into the family had put something in a group, and my older brother took offense to it. One of my other brothers came in and said, "No, it wasn't meant to be like that." And he said what the guy should have said, or what he thought he should have said. And he said, "Well, why didn't he just say it like that?" Sometimes ego plays a bigger role in a lot of miscommunication situations. And I'll say here, and I've always said, if you want grace, give. If you want grace, give it. And you want somebody to understand you. Sometimes you have to seek to understand somebody else. Matter of fact, I was coming back home on the bus today after I dropped off the U-Haul, young brother is sitting there with his earpods and singing. Now, clearly he didn't understand that he was singing to the point where I thought he was trying to imitate Tyrese. I thought he was trying to look for another music deal and be discovered on a bus. And I'm just sitting there, me and the other man is having a conversation about weight loss. And it's finally the driver says something. He didn't hear the driver at first because he's got the earpods in.
Mhm.
So finally he toned it down a little bit, went inside in the back of the bus. A couple other drivers got in, another younger Caucasian cat, and another, I would say, middle-aged brother. Now, the Caucasian dude sitting in the back vaping. Why, I don't know. I'm just thinking, don't y'all know this? Don't y'all know that basic stuff when you get on the bus you can't do? And I guess the driver saw the brother uncap an alcohol bottle, started drinking from it. And he said something. The brother got offended and put the cap back on it. And as he was getting off, he was saying, I wasn't drinking. I know better than that. I'm thinking, if he wasn't drinking, why even had a bottle out? I'm just like, and this is the type of stuff that, I call, far be it for me to say this, but I got another thing that I'm looking to put together called cityscapes. And it's just things that I see daily, in my movies about the city, whether it be some knucklehead stuff like that, or just some things that you see. So a lot of miscommunication, as you were saying, it boils down to ego and people not, quote unquote, wanting to be wrong. Sometimes it's not about being right or being wrong. People have a way that they believe that their way is the only way, and all this other stuff, and it's just like, that's not necessary. Are you? And this is why I always say, are you trying to put a brick in the wall of conversation, or are you trying to take one out? Some people are trying to put a brick into the wall of conversation. They don't want to. I don't want to hear anything. He can't say nothing to me. I dare him to say something. I'd be better not say something. Dude, we gonna tear this place up. And it's like, yo, that type of energy is not necessary. No, nobody here is trying to fight. Nobody's trying to put you down. Nobody's trying to one up you. Nobody's trying to prove that they're better than you. They just trying to communicate. They're just trying to establish some type of decorum where the rules of engagement are understood. And a lot of people think that. And it's no, it's not necessary. It really isn't.
And ego and pride was one of the things. I didn't get into that. That was like number six, but
Mhm.
definitely people don't want to let go. And like you said, they believe it's their way, and even even if they know they dead ass wrong, they won't bring themselves to say, yeah, I was wrong. They might tell somebody, but the hopes of telling that person is that it don't get back to everybody else that he admitted that he was wrong, but he's not gonna say it in front of the whole family.
And it kills me because the first thing because if I'm wrong about something, I'll be like, yeah, you know what, man, I was wrong. My apologies. And sometimes, and I'll use this example. This happened at work actually some years ago. I made a comment, and it wasn't really a dig at anybody. It was just like, I made a general statement, and a brother got offended. And I'm thinking, why in the world did you get offended? But I had to put myself in his situation in terms of him having been to jail and me not. And I said, look, bro, I said, if that offends you, I said, I'm sorry. I said, it wasn't meant to be like that. I said, but I understand how you feel about that. So, I apologize. It didn't hurt me. All it did was give me a different perspective of what I say and how it could be interpreted by somebody else. And sometimes we don't think about that. Sometimes we get so self-absorbed that we're just like, yo, I didn't mean it like that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you intended something. If somebody takes offense to something or impugns somebody's integrity or whatever, just like, you know what? I'm sorry. It wasn't like that. I didn't mean it that way. And you learn something. And I think a lot of people, the old adage, they would rather eat crow when it's cold. eat it when it's warm. It'll taste a whole lot better. I'm not one of those people that's gonna dig my heels in something when I don't need to. Now I understand if you have a position you're trying to defend, or somebody does something that you've drawn a line, and you're just saying no more. I'm not dealing with it no more. I'm not tolerating it no more. I don't want to hear about it no more. That's fine. But more often than not, that's not the case. You call somebody to borrow some money and say, no, I'm giving you a motherfucking thing. Yo, why you gotta, you don't borrow money from this person 4 times before, you ain't never paid them back. And you think they gonna really be forthcoming and let you borrow money again?
That was like number three. Talked about the financial disputes in families, and like I said, the great Dave Ramsey always said, Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner don't taste the same when somebody's sitting across from you and they owe you three, four, $500, but they got a new car out there. They coming through with the new kicks and the polo Ralph Lauren down, and they haven't acknowledged you. Whatever you gonna have some resentment, like yo, that's it's just disrespectful.
Yeah, yeah, and and like they always say, money and friends make strange bedfellows, and this is why they always say, hey, look, don't let people borrow money that you can't afford to actually not see coming in. It reminds me of the part in the movie Bronx Tale where I think the character Sonny is the kid. He chasing the dude down the street. Yo, he says he owes me $2. He said, yo, man, come here. He said, he owes you $2. He says, yeah, I want my money. He said, look at it like this. He said, that that guy's never gonna value you again. So for $2, he's out of your life. Count it as a blessing. You gotta worry about that. Sometimes we lack perspective as people to say, hey, look, there's need to be nasty to somebody, even when they owe you. And I understand. Just kind of saying, no. Until we square up with the debts that you owe me, you can't ask me to borrow anything. And just leave it at that. And they're gonna beg because you probably okay before you didn't maintain the boundaries that you set. And they know you were softy. They know you got it. So they're gonna keep coming at you sideways. They're gonna keep coming at you sideways. And sometimes it's just better off just to sit there and just say nothing. Okay, hey, look, I already spoke once. I'm not gonna ask you again.
And another recommendation is, if you take that stance and you know that that person has borrowed three or four times, whoever else family members, do not call that person trying to say, oh, you really should, they really need it, no one else has it but you and the family. Yo, keep your ass out of it, for you be on that shit list, whatever. Stay out of Stay out of it. You may be in good graces with that person and they were
Yeah,
like, all right, you always pay back. But if it's that one shot caller and then you calling trying to defend the other person, you really not validating the person who validating their feelings, because they're like, damn, I keep giving you chances. You done burnt me three or four times. So not that it's hurting me, but damn, I'm a little irritated that you
right.
keep coming through here and not saying anything. But then you, as another family member, you want to open your mouth and start defending that other person, then your ass gonna get cut off as well. So just think about it. And then you'll say, well, it have nothing to do with that, whatever. You should have just said, shouldn't have said nothing, or encourage that person to come up with payment plans or something to get back in good graces.
And a lot of people they refuse to do that. It's just like the clip I posted of the I think the movie's name was McClintock with um I was gonna say Clint Eastwood with I can't remember his name right now. His name escapes me. Where the daughter comes in and she's offended by what her fiance has said, and to get by all of that, she ends up not being wrong per se, but she ends up on the wrong side of the discussion. And she says, Daddy, when you tell me, he says, leave me out of this. So sometimes a lot of people they have to pick and choose their battles. And if a battle doesn't include you, don't include yourself.
Yeah, and that's real. Sometimes, as they say, you gotta mind your own damn business. You ain't
And
seen nothing, you ain't heard nothing. And that was number three. But before that, there was talk about power struggles and control issues.
you know what, um you see that a lot in families when a parent has they have some assets that are coming up for probate and everybody's jockeying for position. And I really hate to talk about this given, the time of the year and everything else, but it, it really lets you know who stands where. Because if it gets to the point where you're fighting over a deceased person's assets in terms of who's gonna get more, and a lot of people, and this is to me is juvenile, and maybe because when my mother transitioned, she didn't have assets like that, so there was no bickering among us in terms of who was gonna get what. There was no fighting there. Everybody's at the funeral home, and it was tears, laughter, and same thing with my sister when she transitioned. There was none of that. So sometimes that money gets in there, and people assume that because this person left this person more money, that they like this person more. And sometimes it has nothing to do with that. As much as we like to think we know everything that happens between our siblings, we don't. And I'm here to tell you, I have 9 siblings. I don't know everything that happens between each one of them. One of them could have let the other borrow some money and they didn't pay it back. So now, they can't ask that person for money anymore. So now when the things come full circle and that person made transition and that person's cut out the will, they want to know why. Well, damn. I look at the ledger. You got $6,000 outstanding to this person. That's why they include you in the will. It wasn't that they don't like you. You got yours while they were still living. Somebody that's never borrowed from them, never asked for any money, they got 10 grand. But here you are upset because you didn't get anything. Well, hell, let's count the 6 grand that you got that you ain't never paid back, and let's add some interest to that. Do you want to talk about? No, man, that ain't the point. That is the point. But because you don't like the optics, it looks different to you. You're feeling some kind of way. Well, yeah, you know what? Tough. Maybe if you'd have paid back that 6 grand, you'd have got something out of the will when they left. Maybe you'd have got the Corvette. Maybe you'd have got the Harley. Maybe you'd have got the home. Maybe they got something, but you didn't pay your debts, so you don't get anything. And it's the same thing with parents. As much as we like to believe we know everything that happens with our parents, we don't. One kid could have stepped up when a parent was feeling ill, took them in, helped them out, helped them get back on their feet. They didn't have to bankrupt themselves. They didn't have to go into the retirement fund. So this parent gets to be. Matter of fact, I want to acknowledge the passing of and I don't know if you said anything about it, former St. John's coaching legend and Big East legend, Lou Carnesecca. Pardon me. He had transitioned at 99. So you basketball Big East fans out there, salute to him. But it's the same way. We get these people in our lives. We don't know who did what. Matter of fact, speaking of another basketball coach, Dean Smith. When Dean Smith transitioned, he let each one of his players, I think it was like $250 or something like that. We don't know. We are not privy to everything that happens between everybody. So don't think that you are. Unless you're in the room every time that person talks to that individual, you're reading their text or whatever communique is, you don't know. So don't assume you know everything that happens between everybody. Don't assume as as a child, you know everything that happens between your parents.
Well, I got two things
Yeah, yeah.
when you were saying about like the inheritance or people reminds me of the book and I think everybody should read this book, the Dale Carnegie books, how to win and make friends, influence. I can't even think of it.
Influence, yeah, influence friends, and yeah, yep.
And it's on my bookshelf. And one of the stories in the book was, I guess it was about this elderly lady that she was, I guess she was loaded, but nobody really knew that. And I guess her children kind of isolated themselves. Like she got older, they wasn't really dealing with her. Then I think it was like a neighbor that would always make sure that they would speak to her, check on her, and all that stuff. That went a long way
Mhm.
because, and that neighbor or something got a lot. She left that person a lot. So the message Dale Carnegie was, pretty much saying, I think it was how to make friends and influence people, like
Yeah, that's it.
being nice and being consistent and cordial to people could go a long way.
Hmm.
Then instead of having expectations like, oh, mom or dad just automatically gonna give this to me, especially when they get older. And like Herb said, like if you're not coming through and you're not doing what you need to do for them, they could be, and you may never know what they're sitting on because elderly people older, they wasn't about showing flossing and all that stuff. That became um like even not even so much our generation after that, like everybody got to floss and show out, where old people they could be sitting on a lot and just they never said anything, and they just sitting back as an older person watching how people move, especially if they still sharp mentally.
Hmm.
um they just watching who came to visit me up in the nursing home.
Yep.
Who brought me this? Who brought me that? Oh, this joker never came by here, or whatever the case is. So that was one thing. And then I also seen it was touching to me. I seen a TikTok video, and I guess they surprised the granddad. Um, where they had set it up that he went and answered the door, and when he answered the door, I guess it was his grandson who he hadn't seen in a while.
Hmm.
And I just thought like, like that was love. The way they looked at each other, and then somebody commented like they look just alike. So when Granddad seen his grandson, he was looking like that rascal. Like I ain't seen you in a minute, but the way they embraced whatever, and I'm pretty sure that video is kind of going viral now. But it's just that time of the year. It was. I guess they filmed. It was during Thanksgiving.
Yep.
I don't know where the grandson was at, but they convinced him. He eventually ended up coming because before you came on, Herb, I talked about sometimes people they just don't come to family functions. They won't come, um, and they'll say, "I'd rather just stay at home," or "I'll be at peace," or they know that somebody's going to be there that's going to cause turmoil, so they'll
Hmm.
stay. But I don't know the situation, but the grandson came and he hadn't been around. I don't know. He could have been locked up. I don't know, but it was just nice that the elderly grandfather got a chance to see maybe his oldest grandson, who he hadn't seen in a while. So that was that. Then also fire shout outs to death. We had a significant death for me in North Avenue. The passing, we know him as Clean, Mr. Clean, Arthur Hill. And anybody, do you know Mr. Clean? Her,
No, and I saw it. I'm trying to reckon. I'm like, the brother's face didn't ring a bell.
I'm sure your brother. I'm sure Rick or Lafayette. They probably
Yeah, yeah.
Clean. He's been a mainstay or fixture in Niagara Falls. And for me personally, I was one of the ones that came under his wing when my father left. I think I was like 10 years old. Everybody, whether people believe it or not, what kids like is security and structure. and
Yeah,
and
above
sometimes when
anything
you
else.
you don't have uh male figures in your life like that. Well, I had my grandfather, man, he was working trying to make sure everything was right with every sector of the family. But growing up, when you don't have a big brother, you have people who take on that role. And Anthony, his brother, had passed maybe last year. Then Clean had just passed you know about a week ago. So it's been like, wow, like you can't believe it, because we're all hitting that age or mortality that you just
Yeah.
never know. And he was significant, and as my brother Carlos said, he was the JJ Evans of North Avenue. He was talented, could draw, talk shit like with the best of them, and good, bad, or indifferent, some of the things that he told. uh but it was life experiences, the life experience that I had, and just to know, like, dang, I got a big brother that's always going to try to encourage me, going to get on me, going to talk shit to me. That meant a lot growing up. And shout out to Clean, man, may you rest in peace. And man, he came to the North Avenue reunion, and then prior to that, I had seen him just at 7-Eleven. The last time I seen him, man, this was like after his brother Anthony had died, and I was like, how you holding up? And I had wrote that in my little write up, and typical Clean response, like, shit, I'm kind of like, I'm doing me, I'm fine. What else I'm gonna do? He dead now, and I'm like, all right. All I could do is accept that. That's his feelings or whatever.
Right.
Gave him a pound and, like, love you, brother, man. Be safe. And I think I ended up buying him, a couple. How they had a little miniatures. Bought him a couple of those, and made sure he was all right, and then departed. But those was my last words to him. But when I wrote that up, I always, thought about, like, that's what he did for me. Encourage, support, and growing up, like, just the mental support needed, and fire security, to have someone like, okay, this is my big brother. No matter what, I got somebody that gonna have my back, and he's gonna
Right.
go to war for me. And I don't think people understand the value of that. And I see it by working in the school system, where you have kids, they don't have nobody. It might just be them. And they
Yeah.
feel it's a lonely feeling
Hmm.
when you got to battle, when you feel like you got to battle against everybody. But when you feel like you got brothers and stuff like that, or family members, boy, your confidence can soar. And I think he gave me confidence probably when I didn't have confidence after my father left. So may he rest in peace, man. And tough loss.
Sliner, was the Sliner family sledge? We are family. I mean, they play that at weddings for a particular reason, and this was something I heard, and you guys have heard me mention his name before, Dr. Ryan Teraband, and he talks about one of these things, and he said, "Look, you don't get to choose your birth family, but you do get to choose who your extended family is." Now, me personally speaking, I have an extended family that I am blessed to have. I got invited to a family reunion probably about 8, 9 years ago because the grandmother took me in as a foster child for a number of years. And I never forget. And this was an old school black woman. Cook Sunday dinner. And when I say cook Sunday dinner, I mean macaroni and cheese, collard greens, corn, Kool-Aid. And I'm not talking about being cheap with the sugar. I'm talking Mason jar Kool-Aid. And every Sunday I'd ride my bike across town to 24A Jordan Gardens. Shout out to the Knowles family. You guys know who you are. And I grew up walking like I lived there. Like literally, I did not walk in. Hey, Herb, how you doing? Go over there and give her a hug. She's sitting in a normal chair. right by the table, right by the refrigerator. Go ahead and get you a plate. You ain't gotta ask, just wash your hands. To this day, the Nauls is my extended family. Every time I see any one of them. Matter of fact, I was gonna say the sister lives up the street from me, but that was a while ago when I stayed on Ashland. But the sister used to live up the street. Every time I walking riding down the street, I stop there and chit chat for about probably 10 minutes. I still speak to the sons, the daughter. So that's my extended family, and I have a network of extended families across Niagara Falls that I'm blessed. I'm blessed in every way, shape, or form. So for me not to give, for me, is sacrilege. That would be the equivalent of me seeing somebody that needs a hand and I can do it, and I just don't. And people will ask me, they said, well, why did you do that to them? They didn't deserve that. Look, I didn't deserve to be taken in as a foster child. But you know how many families across Niagara Falls did? I can't count. And I stopped trying to count. So every time I see the opportunity to give somebody something and it doesn't hurt me, I'm giving somebody something. Lord knows that I've been given plenty by people who didn't know. Matter of fact, I recall one time having car troubles, and I was in Canada. Got a jump start, got a tow back to the border, got the customs in my car started. For me, those are familiar acts. Some people will say, well, I never catch a break. Well, you know, I'm going to probably agree with you. You probably never catch a break. And I'm going to add, when you have the opportunity and you're in the position to help somebody, do you? And if the answer is no, then you haven't bought a break. You haven't earned a break. You haven't done anything where the universe says, you know what? We're going to reward your goodness. We're going to reward your kindness. We're going to send some help your way that you weren't counting on. This is why I never say, I don't deserve this or I didn't do anything to earn that. I'm saying, you know what? I did something in the past and that was coming back to me. I accept my blessings where they come from because I know that I've done plenty a lot of times, even if it's at my job, because some people get confused with what customer service means. And there are times where I don't speak in an individual's language. And the first thing I'll do is I'll walk over to our computers and I'll sit there and I'll go through certain things with people and I'll give them the options. I never tell anybody what to do. I only give them the options. And people are grateful. They don't tip me, but their gratitude is a tip enough. And people are willing to do that. They're unwilling to do that for family, let alone strangers. And you have some people who will do for strangers that they won't do for their family. And you'll ask them, why not? Well, my family ain't shit, man. They never did anything for me when I was locked up. You know, nobody ever came to see me. Well, how'd you get locked up? Well, that ain't the point. No, you mentioned it. So somewhere, somehow, it's got to be a point. I'm not trying to dig into your business. So if it's none of my business, tell me it's none of your business. Now, I'm not saying it's none of your business. I just don't want to talk about it. Usually somebody don't want to talk about something because there's some unresolved issue there. And I'm not necessarily saying trauma. I'm just saying that there's something there that needs to be flushed out. And you know what? You may want to call up your brothers and or sisters or whoever it is you have the issue with and say, hey, look, you know what? When I was locked down, none of y'all came to see me. None of y'all put no money on my books. You wouldn't even accept my calls. And that left me feeling some kind of way. Even though I got myself jammed up, I still expect my quote unquote family to come through once in a while. I know I did, especially when I went to college. And I remember those trips. You know, I would get back from, because I was still working on the weekends. I was fortunate enough to be able to go to Buff State, take the bus back home. And then when I started to be able to rent vehicles and I had reliable transportation, I would go see my brother who was locked up. And my brother, make no mistake, my brother had been locked up for almost 17 years. And I'm not talking about combined. I'm talking about a stretch. And I would be tired as hell. And I said, you know what? I'm going to see my peoples. And it got to the point where some of the officers knew who I was. They said, oh, you coming to see your brother? Yeah. And the CO said, you know what? I respect that. He said, but because a lot of the people, they can't do it. They're not mentally built, to get inside these walls and sit down 5, 6, 7 hours, with their peoples and check on their peoples and let their peoples know, hey, look, you gone, but you ain't forgotten. And I'm giving some people some FYI. If you do have family members that are locked up, even though it's expensive as hell, and I know because I did it for a lot of years, accept that call. And if you have younger relatives, especially black male relatives, take them with you to see him or her on that visit. It serves two very vital, but very rarely spoken about things. One, it lets that younger person know that if you do something wrong, there's a price that you're going to have to pay. And that price may mean isolation from your family. Number two, and more important, it lets everybody know that good, bad, or indifferent, you claiming your people. So when they do get out, they know they have a family to come home to. And that helps with recidivism rates. Inmates who are surrounded by their families, who can keep them on the straight and narrow, who will help them. Sometimes you can't help them. Sometimes they just do that because that's just who they are. And you have to accept that. You have to accept that that's who they are. You can't change them until they want to be changed. So it helps them, and it helps lower the recidivism rate. And I say that as a person who's been there. I can't tell you. Matter of fact, I wrote my brother so much. I want to see him so much that he's been clean. He's been out and hasn't reoffended in almost 20 years, and I still know his inmate number. That's how often I used to go see him. And I'm sure me, certainly him, maybe 2 other family members knows his inmate number. And I can write his inmate number down right now without even thinking about it. As sure as I can write my own birthday down, I can write that inmate number down. And that's what family means to somebody like that. We really talk about the criminal element in here. And it's not that we shun it. I don't know what David's experiences are with having family members that have been incarcerated, but I know what mine is. And I'm always going to talk about that. I'm always talk about my brother, my older brother, because I see what he is now. And part of that, his siblings helped lay the foundation for that, which is why, when push comes to shove, he said, yo, what you need? I got you. Who fucking with you? Because I always tell people, I'm never worried about my well-being. It's like the lyrics in the song Heavy D just say. He said, I walk the streets in peace and I'm never strapped, but I know a crew of young guns who can send you back. That's what he means. And that's why I always tell people, I'm like, look, I'm not worried about if you do something to me. But I assure you that you're not going to have any place to hide, because I got people who walk both sides of the streets. I got the people who put their hand in the dirt, and I got people who are above the law, who with the law. So however you want it, whenever you want it, let me know.
Because your brother was down with the lynch mob on the east side back in the days. The lynch mob.
So I tell people, I'm good. However you want to get it in, let me know. Because I had some, and this is the funny thing. Side note, a Willie moment. I had some of these young cats that always get shit sideways. And I had this dude talking about, when I come to Niagara Falls, don't let me see you walking by yourself. I'm thinking, dude, You think I got to be this age by letting somebody run up and put their hands on me? I'm always alone when I'm in the streets. I'm a one man crew. I don't need an army to defend myself. It's funny how I'm just like, yo, y'all getting shit twisted, dude. I don't need to fight, but if push comes to shove, believe me, I can. I can. But yeah, so even and I know this is difficult, especially this time of year. If you got family members that are incarcerated, check on them. Go see them because one is good. We talk about mental health, and it's good for their mental health. And number two, more importantly, like I said, and let people know inside and around that he got family, and they're not going to allow him to be mistreated.
Yeah, and for me, I don't think I ever really had that experience like that with like a well, obviously not obviously like with a brother. I mean, my father, he was locked up for my early years. I think he spent time in Attica,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but it probably was over more of a loyalty type of thing that he, didn't believe in snitching on his homeboy. So he made the conscious decision of, well, I'm gonna do this time, but not think about, okay, I got a son on the way.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think my um, early years as a toddler, like I don't know, I have to talk to my mother as far as the chronological time of when that happened, but I do remember as I got older when he would write her, she had this binder of letters that he would write. I, she probably threw it out knowing her. I would love that. I would love to have that piece of information if I had it. That's
Man,
that's a
let me,
book, a
I was
manuscript.
getting ready to say,
Yeah,
man, dude, not to
and it was
interrupt, but I mean,
it
yeah,
was thick. It was thick, and I
yeah,
remember going through reading some of it. But I was younger, but my attention span really wasn't too much on it, so I would just kind of open up random pages, glance through it, and then keep it moving. And like I wish I had that binder right now.
I'm telling you, it's the movie $1 Million Baby. For those of you who've seen it, and I think Clint Eastwood has done some, I mean, just some fantastic work through the years. I mean, his his movie catalog is there are very few who can rival what he's done, through his career, whether it's acting and directing or just directing. The $1 Million Baby, it shows where every letter he sends to his daughter is returned to him. I think it was $1 Million Baby. And he goes to the shoebox and he just puts it in it. And it's for me personally speaking, is a very hollow moment, because when he finds I can't remember her name. Jennifer Gunn, I think it was Jennifer Gunn who plays the role of the boxer, the female boxer. And don't quote me on that because I could be wrong with that too. And he trains her. The reason why he was so hesitant to train her was because of his own daughter. And we were talking about inheritances. When she died due to the incident in the ring, she cut her mother out the will because her mother didn't treat her like he did. So this stuff really, even though we watch these movies and we entertain, sometimes the entertainment value extends to reality, but sometimes we just don't make the connection. You were talking about family. There's two movies. One is Soul Food, and if you've seen Soul Food, I probably shouldn't have to explain that to you. The other is Antoine Fisher, where he finally finds out who his biological father is, and I think it was either Christmas or Thanksgiving. He goes to the house. His stepfather brought him there, and he opens up the door, and he's seen smiling faces, family members, cousins who embraced him and he was so overwhelmed with joy that he never thought he could experience that. So I tell people, you know, the holidays are coming up. For me personally speaking, I don't celebrate Christmas, so for me, Thanksgiving is it. You know, I got together my brothers. I'll shout out to Rick. He hosted again as usual. I got to get my spot in order so when he leaves the city, I can step into that breach and start hosting here because I have the space. I just need to get shit, situated. But he hosts every year, regardless of what the situation is, and we do chips. So him and now his wife, shout out to her. They do the cooking and yeah, my deviled eggs. Have me a whole tray of them joints.
Big back ass. Big back. Kid just called me that today. Big back.
Man, because we usually don't eat till about the start of the second game, and by then we really hungry. So I'll be up there crushing the deviled eggs, the chips and dip, and yeah. So just have a whole tray out for your man, because I'm already gonna punish them joints. But they know that, and they acknowledge that, and that's part of for me. That's part of having that family is just say, hey, look, this is what he likes. We we gonna set him up, and that's what we held. What we had repasses for our sister. And my gosh, I can't tell you the amount of food, the amount of people that showed up for my younger sister's repast, and I was moved. You know, nephews, great nephews, great nieces, siblings. I mean, just the number we had at the community center with so many people, and it was just like, yo, this is what it's about. So it made everything easier. Music, dancing. It was a celebration. People would have walked in there, and we had people that came in there and said, "Yo, y'all having a party?" Was no, my sister's funeral was today, and it's like, funeral, man, that don't sound like no funeral. That sounds like a party. It was like, well, yeah, this is what we do. We get down. We acknowledge, the succession of life, but we also understand that, hey, it's because of what she did, how she lived, that we here.
Kind of
So
right.
I don't
Go
want
ahead,
people,
go ahead.
and I always tell people, let me drop this off. My boy, shout out to Josh. He went to Syracuse for a funeral and he came back. I said, how was it? He said, "Well, it was as live as death could be." And I never forgot that shit. I said, that's a motherfucking bar. Yep.
So, and that kind of reminds me of when my cousin Yetta had passed due to lupus, and I wasn't expecting this. Um, but at the repast, it ended up being like a book signing. Like I had just came out with my cocktail conversations, and people like, "Yo, you got your book?" Well, of course, I had the books in my trunk or whatever. And I think they might have came in. Well, actually, I had a engagement at ECC, so I had books in my trunk from that for the engagement. But people were asking during that time, and I'm like, this is I do not want to do this here, and but they kept asking me,
Yeah.
and I asked my aunt, I was like, listen, they keep asking me. She's like, go ahead, do your thing. She's like, what you think Yetta would say? And
Yeah.
I said, Yetta would say, go ahead, you better get that fucking money. You better get that fucking money. Uh, so it ended up being but I always felt awkward. Like I didn't want people to think like I was trying to capitalize
Yeah.
on that, but it just took one person to say, "Yo, I see your book on. Oh, you got any?" And then, of course, I signed and all that. Then other people like, "Oh," then I probably had about 20, 25 book sales at the repass. So, and and I contribute to that to Yetta watching over it. Like, get that money,
Yeah.
get it. And the spirit was live, and it was one of those things. But then, and I probably talked about this too a couple years ago when my uncle had passed. we had family in Milwaukee when we were younger. We would go there for family reunions, but then as we got older, we didn't see our cousins like that. But that brought us together, and now, man, we just we're sad in that, like, damn, we let all these years go by. But then my peoples, I love my family from Milwaukee, whatever. They come through. They
Mhm.
come through. When it's a function in Niagara Falls, they pull up deep, man. And I'm like, man, we gotta find a way to return it to pour back that energy towards them, whatever, because they've been tremendous in these last couple years, and man, they make they just brighten it. A sullen moment could turn into prosperity with hope and connections, and sometimes our lives get busy. We see things, on social media, like posts and all that stuff. But sometimes I think we just gotta do better, and I know I gotta do better with just extending out, even with if it's just a
Yeah,
message.
yeah,
Hey, cuz, whatever, just thinking about you, love you, whatever. Gotta I gotta do better. I gotta do better. I gotta make that a personal challenge to myself, because I'll just get caught up in stuff, and then
yeah.
dealing with the work day with these little, well, I can't say critters because they might be watching. Uh, because I'm surprised the one boy I said, when you streaming with the big bad wolf. So I just be like on down, but like I ain't trying. I just want to relax, but it's always love. So what I was basically saying is, once I get off of work, I just be like, okay, I want to watch ESPN. I want to engage in the sports world, the trade talks, this and that. I could get motivated in that element, and I don't really choose to talk to too many people. Not being standoffish, but just trying to take time for myself. But I know I have to probably cut into some of that time just to send out messages to others, whatever, and be the leader. As far as that, one of the things that I'm disappointed in y'all family too, my brothers, my crew. We always say, "Oh, we gonna get together. We gonna get together. We gonna get together. We gonna plan something." Because girls don't, women don't have no problem having their girl trips. They make that shit happen. We be lacking, and we be saying this and that. And like shout out to my cousin Ronnie O's. He said, "Man, I ain't trying to hear what they got to say." He said, "Because you know what? The next time we get together, one of us gonna be dead."
Yeah.
I was like, "Whoa!" But it's true. It's a factual. You can't, if you had the resources and you had the opportunity, you need to make it happen.
Yeah.
You need to make it happen. If you got the time as well. If you don't, that could be one of those times you um sitting around at a bar, or in your man cave or somewhere in your, I don't know, taking a couple shots, like, damn, I fucked up. I should have went there.
Hmm.
I should have been there. You don't want to erase, kind of disqualify those opportunities when they're present. So it's important. So it's not always, family feuds can also lead to other connections as well. Yeah, but we got
Yeah.
to recognize the feuds and why we're feuding.
Yeah. I would certainly encourage anybody, whoever you are, whether you're a father, mother, aunt, uncle, niece, cousin, start a tradition, whether it's family reunions, planning something where there's a get together. Doesn't matter what you call it, just start it. Because I know this past September when I went on the brothers retreat, I was like, yeah, I've been missing out. And one of the reasons why I said I'm grinding, I'm hustling, I'm trying to get this money together, because I want to do this, I want to do that. And then all of a sudden, this past trip, I was like, man, They talk about the other ones. I was like, damn, I've been missing out on a whole lot. So you know what? Now I gotta ink that into my yearly schedule because I got family members, little siblings who are pushing 70. And when I say 70, I do mean 70. The oldest sibling is 70. I got another brother followed behind. He's 68. So yeah, we getting up there. We all climbing that ladder rung. So when that day comes that the next rung on the ladder can't be reached, there's gonna be no regrets. There's gonna be no tears and sorrows. There's gonna be say, hey, let's reach for whoever's next, reach for the next rung. And and this is what we need to pass on to the youth, to the younger generation, whether it's kids that are in our immediate family or kids that might just see us in passing. You talked about the JJ fella. That's a tradition that's passed on. You might see a young man on the street and say, "Hey, young, let me holler at you for a second. Why you got your pants down?" Okay, but do you think look at that younger sister over there? Pretty good looking sister. Yeah. What you gonna do if she don't want to date you because your pants down? Oh, I don't care what she say because I not. Stop and think for a moment, brother. You 16, 17, in 10 years, you can walk into a job interview. You can be dressed like that. Yeah, what's wrong with the way I'm dressed? Nothing if you don't want money. Everything if you do. And sometimes we as young black men, we have a problem, not with authority. We have a problem transitioning. We have a problem from transitioning from older adolescence into young adulthood, into mature adulthood. And the reason why? Because we've never been shown what those things look like. We've done on this particular platform, the rites of passage for men and women. That's a rite of passage for a man. It's not having a kid. That's a biological process. That doesn't make you a dad. That may make you a father, but a dad is actually when you can sit there and talk to your son. Shout out to Deion Sanders and say, hey, look, I put you here in this position. Now you got to pick up the reins. Now you got to pick up the baton and you got to continue to run this race because I'm not always going to be here to run the race with you. So I'm going to give you these tools. I'm going to make sure your toolkit is loaded. That way, when you need to do something, you already know how to do it. A lot of us don't have that benefit. So we got to, you will rarely hear me say what we got to do. Not only because it's incorrect English, that's because I'm trying to reach y'all. So, brothers, we got to do this. We got to do this because it was done for us. If you in our age range, David's and I, if you're in the 50s, that's because somebody helped you get here. You didn't do it all on your own. Somebody helped you.
I always pay homage to people who got me to where I'm going. And when you just made the basketball analogy, I still go back to Bronny James and all these people that got all this shit to say about this kid, man, that's 19 or 20. And yeah, mad about LeBron and what he did. He's 20. Trust and believe he's gonna find his way. Mm-hmm. And he's gonna turn the jokes into all y'all old ass people who ain't did shit, ain't won a kickball tournament or nothing. It's gonna be big fans of his because look who his dad is. Look who his dad rolled with. Look who's in his ear and all that. It's no secret. Like even with Deion Shadur or whatever, Tom Brady is in his ear and all that stuff. So fathers like that have the ability to rope people in, and it's not in his DNA to be a slacker.
Yeah.
It's not a DNA when his father about to be 40 in a couple weeks and he's still averaging like 25.
Adam,
why are y'all, and I know it's entertainment, but I think some of that comes with the core value of your heart to say, who am I to go on and make a comment about him? And if you could look over or go upstairs and look at your son, or look what you have done, you have no place to talk. But see, and that's one thing that Charles Barkley said that sometimes I agree with. He said social media is for idiots, idiots who don't have courage, whatever that they could say, because some of y'all act like idiots. The stuff that y'all say, especially when it comes to people that ain't even on y'all pay scale
Yeah.
or whatever the case is. I have nothing to say about that. I'm not going to comment one way or the other. What I do hope for, I don't think it's fair for somebody that's 20 years old to receive that criticism because you might not like, the way, you know, the way his father moved, but shit, he's still moving. He did it. He did it at a all-time high level, so nothing could be taken away. Far, chips and all that stuff, you could count all that, but he branded himself. He was marketed. So now, son, he may have to fight a little bit.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be around. He gonna be around, and I just think for older people, worry about shit that you need to worry about, and quit posting commentary about a kid
Yeah.
that's still young and still who got a lot of life to live.
Yeah, I don't understand the people and they call it nepotism. I'm thinking, isn't that what a parent is supposed to do? Isn't a parent's responsibility, like I said, it's not a job, it's a responsibility because you're not drawing a paycheck from it. Isn't that what a parent's responsibility is to ensure that their child is better off than what they were when they started out? By every metric, I'm combining words, by every metric, by every measurement. Shador, Bronny, the Ball brothers, Steph Curry, and yeah, I'm mentioning blacks for a particular reason. I'll get to it in a moment. All those kids are in infinitely better positions than their fathers were. That's what a father is supposed to do. We hear all the time by black women, yeah, I'm going there, about how fathers are absent, they're deadbeat. But when one steps up and does his job, he receives criticism and the son is ridiculed. But we don't hear anything about the Bushes of the world. George Bush, his son went on to become president. How you think he got there? We don't hear anything about the Fords, the Ford Foundation. We don't hear anything about the Kennedys. Oh, wait a minute. Kennedy Jr. is being tapped for a cabinet position. So is it wrong when black men do it, but it's okay when Caucasian men do it? And I'm not here to split the divide. I'm just here to open your eyes. This is why we as a people can't get ahead because we got too many you crabs in the barrel, knucklehead niggas that don't understand what a father's job is. And just because you can't benefit, don't mean somebody else shouldn't benefit. Cheer them, applaud them, clap for them. Stop being a dredge on their success because you didn't get it, because you can't do it. Acknowledge greatness when it's in your presence and let that shit pass. I'm sick of that shit.
Because it wouldn't be no different if somebody was a dean at a college or something, and their kid may not had the SAT scores or whatever to get in, but dad got a position, and my son come in here. He gonna
Yeah,
be all right. We gonna put the supports in place,
right.
whatever. And if what y'all gonna say? Well, there's other kids that could have applied and didn't get in, and it's just not fair. What fucking world y'all live in? World y'all live in? You know he gonna pull us like, yeah, that one. If you got 50 spots for this program, my son gonna get one of them. I'm here,
Mhm,
and I'm gonna be on his ass. And if
mhm.
he slack up, I'm gonna still be on his ass. And if it don't make it, then that's on him.
Right.
That's all you could do. I just don't understand the thought process go into that. He trash. He's such and such. Well, you know what? If he is trash, he still ain't got to worry about shit for the rest of his life.
Right.
You trash for commenting on that shit, and your bills ain't paid. It's simple as that. Like some things you don't target toward kids.
Yeah, I got
Leave
yeah.
leave kids out of it. Stuff like leave them out of it. Whatever. He's still a kid. He's still a kid, and he got an opportunity. He gonna have to put in the work now.
Yeah.
He gonna have to put in the work. Unfortunately, he's not like Bryce, that's like 6'5", 6'6", or whatever. He shorter. I mean, but you already know if he was 6'5", 6'6", we wouldn't be having this discussion.
You know, and it's funny you say that because Isaiah Thomas Jr., that was a knock against him. He's too small. And he came in giving a lot of bigs in the NBA business. And people say, well, the only reason he made it is because his father. Okay, and people, y'all gotta this you know, this, and I'm gonna use the term, this play hating bullshit. It make you look bad. It make you look, like you want the war to stop because you feel a certain way about stuff. Newsflash. Life is not about fairness. In a lot of applications, you think it's fair to somebody who is 5'2", got a wealth of talent, but he's overlooked because he's 5'2"? You think the average looking girl next door who has the potential to model doesn't get the look because she's too heavy? She's not tall enough? Life is not about fair. Life is about what you can do with what you have. And I'll say this now, and I'll say it until I'm no longer breathing. You would be foolish not to use every advantage you have to your advantage. I'll say it again. You would be a fool not to use every advantage you have to your advantage. So if I got an in on something and I can use it and you can't, see me when you get there. If you ever get there, I'm using the advantage. I got connections in some places where I can tap somebody and say, hey, look, I need this. Can you help me out? Done. Why am I going to be shamed into getting something that you can't because of who I am? Because there's going to be some times where I don't get something because of who I am. You're going to get something because of who you are. And I'm saying, man, yeah, don't worry about me. I'm going to be all right. Go enjoy. You in that position, man. Utilize it. Don't squander it. Utilize it. Because everybody's going to get something, good, bad, or indifferent, because of who they are. Because of their gender, because of their ethnicity, because of where they are. And this goes back to something I said earlier. They may have paid it forward years ago, and they may have forgotten about it. And now that paying it forward is coming back. You want good, do good. It eventually works its way back to you. I am a firm proponent of that. My life is a walking example of the things that I've got and of the things that I've given. I never complain when something good happens. I never complain when something bad happens. I'm like, hey, somewhere had to have been written. I'm taking it how it comes. I'm gonna make the best of it. So if it's raining and I got lemons, I'm gonna have me some lemonade. It might be a little bit tart, but I'm gonna have me some lemonade.
Yeah, people, we focus the wrong energy on at the wrong time. In certain circumstances, when you throwing stuff out, in this case about a youngster, something should bounce back and say, "Damn, am I totally? Did I reach the pinnacle of success when I was 20 in my profession? I know the window is small in the NBA, whatever, but he still got time. He's still and with people not forgetting that he had a serious, ain't with the heart thing. So
Yeah, it's a bit.
it takes a while to build that up. We don't know if he really like on that go mode, like, "Oh, I'm about to go hard,"
Yeah.
or do he still have something planned in the back of his mind, whatever. But let the progress just go. Let the progress go. Don't worry about him. Worry about LeBron and the Lakers.
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to do that? Bronny, he got an opportunity, and enjoy, because I love stuff like that, just to see the process of the growth of somebody. That's why I got into education. It's nothing better to see kids at a sixth grade level, then get them to the eighth grade, and then especially high school when you have them in ninth grade, then in 12th grade, like, damn, you that same kid. Now you got all these different college offers.
Yeah.
Wow. It's nothing better than that. It's nothing better than as an adult to be able to measure and see growth in yourself, like things that you want to accomplish. And you can see tangible results like, damn, I did this or I did that, whether it's weight loss, whether it's working to get certificates or degrees. It's nothing better than that. I think if people focus on that and they was locked in on what they were doing, it would be less negativity in this world. Now, me, one, I could be hard on individuals. I'll say what I got to say. I'm not gonna harp too much on it. I'll say what I say, and people may say, "Oh, that was negative. That was this." I said, "I'm just being real.
Yeah.
I'm giving you my perspective, and I'm gonna keep moving on that, and then you'll probably bounce back like, yeah, David did say that." He did say that, because I don't speak on nothing I have no knowledge about at all. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people. Y'all do a lot of talking about shit y'all don't know nothing about. I'm not going to argue with somebody in the healthcare field when they're telling me something and I have limited knowledge. I could
Mhm.
Google whatever, but if they've been in that doing that thing for 20, 30 years,
I gotta step back and
what
sit
the
down.
hell? What the hell I got to talk to them about? What I got to dispute about? And that's the thing. And Herb mentioned earlier, y'all be picking the wrong battles. And I think that's with family too. Know
Yeah.
who know who does this, know who does that. Stop arguing with people that have a skill, have experience, because you'll see a lot of little side conversation be about shit like that. That you got one person adamant arguing.
They
Where
don't
you
know
work
shit
at?
about it the first.
Yeah. When you did that, what you know about that? But you argue it, going back and forth with someone who's did it. All they did it for years.
Yeah, it's funny, man. How it and it's funny. Um, from time to time, I will get a either an inbox or just like last week, I got a call from somebody who wanted some they wanted to pick my brain about running for the school board, and I'm always touched, that people reach out to me because as most of you all well know, my bids to get on the board have met with failure. I'm open about that. But despite that, I get people who want to know what to do. So that lets me know that even in my failures, I am paving the way for people who don't know me, have never met me, to come behind me and do what I've attempted to do. And I always say, I will never tell anybody how to vote. I will always encourage you to vote. And if you can run, I would love for you to do that. And I always tell people it does two things. One, it brings more eyes to whatever it is that's being discussed. So get involved. And it doesn't matter whether it's politics or your family, your neighborhood or your community. Get involved. Set that template. Be a leader in that regard. You may not be the tallest, you may not be the fastest, you may not be the brightest, For sometimes hard work beats all of that. And if you put in the effort, believe me, you gonna see fruits. You will. I guarantee that.
Well, Herb, I'm gonna tell you one thing I was gonna do because you're the big bad wolf, and all I think about is my student said, "Man, when you screaming with the big bad," and that's his voice. I went on Amazon. I said, I'm about to send Herb a big bad wolf a mask. So he gonna come on this shit with this shit.
I need to. I've been looking. It's funny you say that. I've been looking into how I can get that done. The only problem is I can't find anyone that can actually do a wolf head with my face.
Mm,
So I've been
yeah,
looking for the last 6, 7 months to try and find
yeah,
somebody, and I can't do it.
yeah.
It is kind of perplexing me. So yeah, it's been on the short list of things that I want to do on the program, but I really want to come in kind of like Lee Corso does with the sports heads on Saturday game day. I want to do that. So I'm looking. So if anybody got it in, let your man know.
I just thought it was the cutest thing, whatever. And y'all might say cutest thing is a man saying, and when you work in education with a kid,
Yeah.
when you screaming like with the big bad wolf. All I could do was chuckle. Like, he's like, I don't know what y'all was talking about. But I said, it's grown folks conversation, man.
But teacher, hey, you know what the funny thing about that is sometimes we miss an opportunity to get the attention of the youth when they're ready. We always talk about, oh, they ain't ready. We don't know when somebody's ready. Just like when you plant a seed, the farmer plants that seed, he tends to it, soils or she tends to it, water it, pick the weeds from around it, and eventually that seed turns into be a magnificent tree. But as David said, that's why he got into education. We don't know what that seed's gonna yield, but that don't mean we shouldn't tend to it, and that don't mean we shouldn't encourage it when we find it ready to be planted. Plant it,
And,
nurture it.
and you make a good point because I think when they see that, because they're able to
Mhm.
put in keywords, and then I pop up, so they come up to me all the time. Oh, I seen your Instagram, because I never really, I post stuff whatever, but I don't. It's not volatile or it's not raunchy or none of that stuff. So I kind of strategically make sure. Sometimes he'll cut cuss words, and someone will say, "Oh,
Yeah.
you, Mister Glue, I heard you cussing." Okay, okay. Uh, but I think they view it as something different. Like, man, to be able to see their counselor, to be able to go on social media and be like, man, what do you got to say? They don't know. They don't understand. They're not at that level yet. But I think they think that is cool.
Yeah.
And so they come up to me like, oh, I found your TikTok page. Like, I ain't hiding. If I was hiding, then y'all wouldn't find it. And I'm trying to reach audiences all over. But it's just interesting. And I just relish the opportunity, because at the end of the day, this platform, we're trying to teach, but we're teaching during our life experiences, and just sharing from there's some research that we pull up, but we connect our life experiences with it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's how people learn and grow. You just can't have a bunch of research and people like, I don't even know what the hell they saying, unless
Yeah.
you can translate your life into what the research is about. And then people are like, oh, I get it, I
Mhm.
understand what that point is. So that's the whole thing is. And I don't care, give a damn what's by the greatest person who researched social scientists. I find an end in something I did in my life that'll connect with that and be like,
Mhm.
yeah, I did that. We did that. This is how we connect that to that.
Mhm.
And I think that's the difference.
Yeah. And to follow that up, the reason why we do the research is so we have evidentiary facts, to back what we're saying. Like I said, we are not subject matter experts in anything other than ourselves. And I say that often, and that's for a particular reason. So when people ask about credentials, Dave has his credentials himself. Me, I don't have a degree to speak of. But what I tell people is this: I have 50 plus years of lived experience that you can't go against. So whether it be politics, finances, personal gain, weight loss, I can speak to you as a person who has done all of those. So not only can I talk about them, I can give you lived experience. I can walk you through certain things without even thinking about it because it's there. It's there in the memory. I've walked the path. So I can say, hey, look, this is what you need to do. Beware of this. Watch for this. It's the equivalent of going to be taught how to drive. Do you want somebody who has only read books on how to drive? Or do you want somebody who's actually driven in snow to teach you how to drive in snow? And you're going to say, hey, I want somebody that's driven in snow to teach me how to drive in snow. Well, go talk to them. And matter of fact, I'll leave you guys with this. I don't know if I've told this on here before. I think I may have. But anyway, I'll tell it again. I was working security at the casino. True story. Two people came up to me asking for directions. One individual was walking with a cane. The other individual had the real thick lens glasses on. I'll ask this question. I'll give you about 5 seconds to figure out the answer. And there's a correct answer. Which one do you think was driving? I made the decision independent of anything that they said on who I thought was driving. So I was speaking to the person with the thick lens glasses on. And that individual said to me, they said, why are you talking to me? That person's driving. I said, oh, you said, you know what? I'm sorry. I learned an invaluable lesson there. I never let my perceptions of someone else determine what they can or cannot do. So I never assume that an individual who's walking with a cane cannot run. And I never assumed that a person who has really thick lens glasses has a very bad vision. I don't know what the reason is, and the assumption is, what else would they be wearing them? I don't know. I ask. It's not my business. So this is when I talk about getting and giving grace. This is precisely what I mean. Don't let what it is that you think about somebody determine what they can or can't do. Because simply put, we don't know. We don't know what somebody's capabilities are or are not. Like I said, I tell that story just so people understand. Hey, look, let somebody tell you what they can and can't do. Don't be that arbiter. Don't tell somebody what they can't do unless you know that they can't do it. Like you've seen them in that situation before. You say, hey, look, you tried to lift that 250 pounds off the bench press before you almost broke your goddamn sternum. Stop trying to do that shit before you kill yourself. It's the only time you need to tell somebody that they can't do something is when you're trying to save their goddamn life. Other than that, if they want to fail at something and it's not going to hurt them or hurt somebody else, let them fail. The greatest teacher is failure. There is no better teacher.
Yeah. We always talk about growth and feeling uncomfortable. If you looking for a Cinderella story, even in relationships or whatever, that everything's gonna be perfect and it's not gonna be any obstacles, your ass heading for a major disaster. So I doubt if anybody who lasted a long period of time in a relationship said everything was perfect. Like we never did it. They lying. There's some lying asses. They lying. Uh, you gonna go through struggle. You're gonna go through trials and tribulations. It's gonna be a lot that you're gonna go through, and then sooner or later you're gonna figure it out. and it's gonna be a peaceful thing, but you have to get to that point. And again, stop listening to other people. I think that's the biggest thing. Stop listening to other people and their feedback and all that. That I mean, it's okay to throw stuff out there, but when you rely on that and it really controls your thought process, I think that's the downfall. Uh, in a lot of situations, whether it's work related, relationship, family wise, whatever. Always consider the source. So again, this subject matter is deep, and we just been covering three, and I had got to five, but when Herb came on here, the past traumas and the unresolved issues, we didn't discuss this at this time, and then that's a lot. And I kind of introduced that there's people that's at every function. They like kids,
Yeah.
and they do things they like, and but because of the history of many of our families, it's kind of pushed under the rug. And I made the example, and I kept saying Uncle Willie, out of control. But nobody wants to send Uncle Willie to jail. But people, as they start getting older, they start sharing their stories. And what the older people may say, it ain't kill you, whatever, or my brother ain't do that, and minimize it. And that's another element that adds fuel to the family.
Yeah.
Uh, because again, you're not validating people's feelings to say, yo, this dude did this or he did that, and but you're saying because that's your brother or your husband or whatever the case is. So it's a lot of that past trauma that impacts and causes family feud. Because a lot of people they come in with their game face on, and
Yep.
when they spot that one person out, they're like, "Oh, that motherfucker here again," and don't let them get enough of that juice in them, that sauce. That may be the
Boy.
day that they shit jump off, but it's built up stuff that causes feuds. So again, you can't minimize other people's things because your brother or your first cousin would never do anything like that.
Yeah.
Especially when you have four or five people saying, "Oh yeah, he did the same thing to me. He did this, he did that." But yet he's free and he is at every function, probably trying to get to the next crop of kids.
Mm.
It's sad to say, but it's real.
Yeah. Yeah. It is real. And you know, take things at face value unless you have the evidence to say something is not authentic. Err on the side of caution and don't take a stance one way or the other until you get the information. It's the easiest thing to do. That way, and you're gonna have people that's gonna push you to take a side. And sometimes the unpopular opinion is to not have one. That's what the wise people do. That's what smart people do. That's the prudent thing to do. That way, when it does come to pass, you can say, hey, look, I didn't say anything one way or the other. You were pushing me to do that. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not taking your side. No, I'm not taking anyone's side. I'm going to let the truth reveal itself. And then when the truth reveals itself, that's when I'll speak.
Yeah. And I'm just because I was giving y'all a summary when I was on here, and I told you the show looks different when you got other people involved. But I think we're at to the point of different values and lifestyles. And I had mentioned before Herb came on here that values, we talked about that a couple weeks ago, cause a lot of issues with in relationships.
Mhm.
People with different values doesn't change in the family thing. People have different values. They have different lifestyles. So again, I made the example of, oh, you at the function and you got some Muslims in there. Oh, who made that? Is pork in there? Uh oh, I'm not eating or whatever. Or my kids can't eat that. Was that used with the same utensils when you stirred in there? Of course, that's gonna cause friction for the person who grew up eating pork all their life and everything they do is pork based. But then you have other people who got dietary restriction,
Yep. Mhm.
religious restrictions, and others said, but you're at their spot. And remember, we talked about power and control. They gonna have feel like they got the power. You at my motherfucking house.
Yeah.
This is how I cook. Whatever. If you knew that and you not, you shouldn't have brought your ass over here.
Yeah.
You got a whole few.
Yeah.
It's so simple how it starts.
Yeah. Honestly, it really is. Because it's funny, and I have to remind myself that I'm one of the few in the family that doesn't eat pork or beef. So when I go to certain functions, I have to be mindful. And when I do ask, I have to have the mindset of asking the question and phrasing it so people don't get offended. So you nip those things before they even have a chance to start. And I just say, I, even though I grew up like that, I now for like 30 years, the only thing I eat is chicken, turkey, and fish. So that's what I'm going to eat. It's no offense to anybody else. This is why I brought some of this. This is why I brought some of that. Because I, despite me, and I got my Ciroc still sitting in the kitchen. Hey, shout out to anybody. I'm looking to get that BlackBerry crown. Okay, I can't
That
find it
Blackberry
anywhere.
crowd is all over it. I think it's up there now. I know it's down here. I done
It's
brought some of it. I brought some of it to Niagara Falls.
Yeah, but man, every place I don't know if people hoard them or whatever the case, but every time I go to a liquor store, they're out.
I got you, man. I got you.
But yeah, even though because I only drink in a handful of places. I only drink at a family member's house or my house. Very seldomly will I have a drink in public. I've done it at the casino. I've done it at the Anchor Bar, but that's generally only a shot or something, and that's when I'm eating, and that's what I call stumble distance home, because those two spots are literally about a 10-minute walk from where I live at. So even if I do get to the point where I get intoxicated, which is forever and never, I'm not getting drunk in public. That the last time I got drunk in public, I was 31. Well, 20 something years ago. That's the last time I got drunk in public. It's not something I do. But those are stumble distance home. So even if I have a couple shots, I ain't got to worry about calling an Uber or anything. I can stumble home and be all right. But yeah, man, you know, house and I know sometimes this is cliche, but sometimes how you phrase something can go a long way towards mitigating any misunderstanding. And take the example that Dave had. You know, if you're a Christian and you go to a Muslim person's home to die, hey, just keep in mind they're gonna prepare food a certain way. Now, if you want something prepared a certain way, you know what you do? Bring it and let him know or her know that, hey, look, I respect this is your house. I understand you want things a certain way, and I respect that. I like this made like this, so I brought some for me along with the things that you made, and I'm gonna eat both. If I want fried chicken, because I refuse it in this house right here, this domicile, no one, and I mean no one, is gonna make anything fried. That's not happening. That's like rearranging the furniture. And I'll find you, Ron. I'm gonna get you.
mm, mm, mm.
Nobody's frying anything in this goddamn house. You want to fry something on the front porch? You can do that. You want to fry it on the backyard? You can do that on the backyard. You want to fry it in the backyard? You can do that. If you want to make it in the garage, you can do that too. Just make sure the garage door is open so that smell gets out of it. But nobody's cooking that shit. And you ain't cooking no motherfucking pork in here. That it is to the point where it turns my stomach. And I'm at working and cooking bacon. I can smell it. And I'm just like, oh, dude, how in the hell did I ever eat that mess? But it's what it is. So people, if you have different things you like in your foods, and somebody don't, just hey, make enough for you and bring it. It doesn't have to be offensive, and just let the person know and say, hey, I respect your sovereignty, your home. I just wanted a little something like this. So when I have this, I generally want this. And that's it. And if they take offense to it, then the motherfuckers are too goddamn sensitive. They're just too sensitive.
Yeah, because you could avoid a lot. You could say, "Oh, they cook this way," but I do want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So I brought my dish in. And if you got your family, this is our little stuff, whatever.
Mhm,
Where should I put it? So
mhm.
when it's time to eat, we can eat off of that. And I hope most people would say, "That's fine. Find a spot for you. I understand." And if, like you said, if somebody like, oh no, you bring that, anybody should, anybody should be able to eat whatever you. We don't bring everything is for everybody. If you got somebody with that attitude, then you got to
Yeah.
question whatever. But if it's a close family member, they probably already know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they don't eat this, they don't eat that. So let me find a spot for them to put their stuff. So when it's time to eat,
That's
their
it.
family could get that, and everything should be fine. But again, if you dispute all that, then again, you looking for a feud.
Yeah,
You
you know
looking
what?
for a feud.
I liken it to going to an event and pizza's order. Well, pizza's a relatively simple thing. Either you get cheese or you get pepperoni. My problem with you people who eat pepperoni and cheese and you go to the cheese first, knowing that the people who eat only cheese.
Yeah, that shit is annoying as hell. Like, why the hell you trying to eat all the cheese and shit? But your ass eat pork. Like, what the fuck? Like, because the cheese look good, it's looking good, huh?
That's the only thing that chaps my ass, man. Because I'll be like, yo, wait a minute. All you pepperoni eaters are eating nothing but the cheese. Yeah, like Dave said, it looks so good. Okay, but damn, go get what to eat. Leave
Yeah,
that stuff for the people who don't eat the pepperoni.
yeah. Because when that number start outweighing, people are like, oh, I just want cheese. And all of a sudden, the pepperoni eaters are like, oh, let me get a couple slices of that. And then because they know they eat that shit up, and then they have all the pepperoni shit for their. So just selfish, whatever. Just selfish. Oh, they ain't about to be spelled. Eat up their shit, and then we gonna have all of our bodies
Yeah,
to ourselves.
crazy
But
man, crazy.
that do happen. That do happen. I done seen it. I say now all of a sudden everybody eat cheese pizza. All
Yeah.
of a sudden now everybody call it out cheese pizza. Amazes me.
And you know what the funny thing about it is, it's asked before the pizza's ordered.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like people are going into it blind. Okay, you eat pepperoni, eat cheese. All right, we got 4 people that eat just cheese. We got 8 people that eat pepperoni and cheese. So we gonna get a tray of cheese. We gonna get 2 trays of the pepperoni. Next thing you come through, ain't no cheese left.
Yeah, because they like, oh, I'm gonna get one of these, whatever. Just selfish. Just selfish, man. Mm, mm, mm.
Oh man, yeah,
Let's
man. This is a it's a great topic. It really is, And sometimes, and I'll leave with this. Sometimes you got to create your own family, and don't let anybody guilt trip you if you do that, because sometimes the people who are our blood relatives, sometimes you can't be around them, and in order to maintain some type of peace and sanity in your life, you got to create a family outside of them. and that's okay. You know, the the term friendsgiving created for a reason. And if you got to create a family outside of your blood relatives where you can go and you're accepted and you're treated well, do that. Don't hesitate. If you gotta um in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, or Christmas and New Year's, or even at the New Year's when things die down and you got some time, you want to throw a party, get together with friends, and people are always talking about they have a problem meeting people, they don't know where to meet people. Perfect opportunity to put something together. 15, 20 people, they bring one person, everybody there's been vetted, you know why you're there, your network grows.
Best time of your life.
Yep.
Small, intimate settings, whatever. Best time of your life, whatever. It ain't happening at no bars with loud ass music where you can't hear what you say. What you say? Uh, you can't hear anything. Little private little stuff, get-togethers is the best time.
And,
Opportunity for you to be on show, display, whatever. You can do what you can say what you got to say and do what you got to do.
and I'm gonna drop a little hint for you ladies. This is something that Ron C would usually do, but the big bad wolf is gonna give you a little shindig between January 1st and I think like the 4th or 5th. You have nothing but bowl games going on. Put you together a little layout. Call some of your male friends. Call some of your female friends. Hang out. Like Dave said, no loud music. Everybody there for a reason. Chill. Even if you got to rent out a hall or something, a little small little place that is big enough for 15, 20 people. And hey, let people show off their culinary expertise. Tell somebody, hey, bake something, bring something. Have you a spread? Somebody get some wings, some habanero, some cheese pizza, some pepperoni and cheese pizza. And you got somebody that may want to make a particular dish. You got somebody that's been, they've been trying to peddle their wares. They want to start baking. They got some cookies. You got some of everything there. You got a quarter keg. You got somebody that brought some pineapple Ciroc. You got somebody that brought some blackberry crown. Everybody's sitting there having a good time. Do see people have to be able to, and David's always talked about this. You got to get uncomfortable. So be uncomfortable a little bit. And if you uncomfortable every day just a little bit, you have a new level of comfort. And by the end of the year, guess what? You've taken an extra 365 steps towards a new level of comfort. And by then, you're going to say, you know what? I didn't even realize I did all this.
Yeah. I never I guess me and my crew is wise beyond our years. I never understood the fixation of people because I know during this time, people like to go out, they like to be festive. I ain't trying to spend all my time in no fucking body's bar,
Yeah.
spending all this money, watered down drinks, overcharged food, when we can, as a crew, say, hey, who hosting?
Right.
Who hosting? And make sure you have a good cleanup crew too. Like, okay, we're gonna do this, but we only having this, you know, so it won't be messy. And you bring what you want to drink, and you have a good time. Like, I don't understand, especially when you have someone. Like when you single, you just want to be out there. You want to run into it. But when you have somebody, we got access to music. Uh, we got drinks. They ain't watered down. We ain't paying for them. Well, we pay for them, but we got a nice selection. We just gonna have a good time. And if somebody decide to crash, they crash.
That's it.
Got to worry about nothing. You in a
Right.
good place.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know who the fuck y'all be looking for, because I haven't done that in a while. But I ain't trying to be out somewhere with some snag of two people out and about having conversation. Like you get a certain age, you just gotta You just gotta keep it low. Just chill, like low profile. Like it's not that serious, whatever. And I know sometimes people think, oh, the more the merrier. Like people amped up. The bills is rolling right now. You want to be
Yeah.
at you want to have your gear on and all that stuff. Still early. Just chill. You could do all that stuff in the confines of where you live because you just never know when you shit run into somebody who ain't a Bills fan. They on the opposite team. And then you get into a little argument because sometimes, again, one of the things on here was emotional intelligence. Sometimes
Yeah.
people don't have emotional intelligence. They can't get into something that was some, and you'll say, so, and all I did was say this. I said that, and that person lost it. You didn't know what the level they was thinking. You don't know their prior background. You
Yeah.
don't know their experiences. You didn't know they was gonna run out to their car and get that shit and come back up in there and
Yep.
try to detonate people. You don't know that, but because you want to be out on the scene. Nah, man, life too precious. I got I got a lot of years that I want to live. I ain't trying
Yeah,
to be
buddy.
caught up in no shit with people I don't know, especially when you go out to spots and you're like, damn, ain't that the person I graduate, their kids? And you hanging out and you don't, nah.
It's one of the reasons why I don't go out to bars anymore. I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh hell no. You start seeing these posts on Facebook. It's like, wait a minute. I graduated high school 32 years ago. Yeah, nah, I don't need to be here. I need to be at home with my feet up with my pineapple Ciroc, watching the game.
Yeah.
That's it.
Got too many things. You can bring your selective crew to your spot, and that's that. Part of the reason, and it's not related to that, but I always was disturbed with the death of the great Sean Taylor from
Washington.
Washington. Like, yo, why y'all having parties like this? Like, you don't have to. Whatever. When you get to that level, everything should be selected. The only way somebody gonna come up in there, uh, you have full clearance. Like, yo, this VIP status. Like, no random people just coming to and you know, great talents like that. And I'm right, right now I'm not thinking about how it all went down, but I kind of vaguely remember, and I'm like, but I remember when it first happened, I was thinking like, shouldn't have had nothing to the public. When you
Yeah.
got money like that, everything should be just private.
Yep.
Like you got money like that, you could do whatever you want to do, and it shouldn't be because there's always going to be people trying to. Now you might have some people that's you cool with, and they might be trying to set you up. They might be trying to get on the inside. You got to be careful of that too. Sometimes in those situations, you never know.
I will say this joke tongue in cheek. Be careful who you let use your comb. And if you understand, you understand. If you don't, I can't help you. There's a hidden joke in there. If you like I said, if you understand the joke, you understand the joke. If you don't, that's okay. Either way.
So it's a lot. It's a lot to this. And we only covered half of it. I don't know what we gonna come back with next week. Mike talk, do the next five or whatever the case, but maybe not. But I always say all this stuff tying together, and at the end of the day, it's the start of December, and it's about to be these festive activities, family functions, work functions, whatever. Make sure you at the top of your game at every function because all it takes is a little slip up, whether uh, whether you get nice and you get hooked up with somebody, and they end up and they're about like, oh, this is the worst mistake I ever made. Or for you younger people, damn, now she talking about she pregnant and shit. Now it's just all of this stuff is real. So it's catered to different things. Just be mindful because shit. Yeah, I know when DT roll up in there in January, it's gonna be some shit. It's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be some shit, and I keep saying it. I don't know all that, but I keep saying it to folks like, you'll be mindful of what you're doing because a lot of stuff about to change. Eh, People like, oh, they think everything is all good. They don't think, like, hey, you might want to travel, you might want to do all this. You may say to yourself, I might want to save a few more coins because I don't know what's gonna happen with this. I don't know what benefits or what they're gonna take away or whatever the case is. But he's coming. He coming. Like Deion say, we coming. Colorado, we coming. He coming. And he got his crew.
Yeah.
And they coming. And unfortunately for many, I was kind of neutral in this. I was just enjoying how it played out. Man, this is gonna be wild. It's about to get wild, as you can see. Got some people. Shout out to Carnell trying to tell people what to invest in.
Yeah,
Drop some
always.
money on this crypto and this and that, and different things I didn't see. Invest in Amazon and all of that stuff. Put some money toward that. Yeah, you better. People better start thinking about. Shout out to my brother Dietrich. Always saying, "Oh, invest in silver, gold, doing different things. Get
Mhm.
some investments behind yourself because we know you can put your money in the bank. That shit ain't nothing moving like that in the bank. But if you invested in something else and that shit spike up, shit, it could change your world.
Mhm.
And you're like, shit, I'm done. I'm up. So saying all this to be saying, we got to be mindful and think about stuff as things come up. It's gonna be some critical times. Some people life's gonna change for the worse. Some people it's gonna be for the better. We just don't know, but you just gotta think about it. And as far as family, family gonna be family. You already know who. That's why you got to be. Sometimes at a family function, you got to be a mover and a shaker.
Yeah.
Me, I'm always on the outside looking in, and I just hit a certain areas and I keep it moving. I don't get stuck in. Sometimes people get stuck in the same spot the whole time at a family function, then they get hijacked with conversation. Now I keep it
Yeah.
moving, and and sometimes you got to know, like, yeah, once you see that one person walking, oh shit. But if you keeping it moving and you conversing with other people, you may not even bump into that person. Just some little secrets or whatever. Not even secrets, just little knowledge as we prepare because people want to come together during these times.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. That is
You
it.
ain't got nothing else, Herb?
Nah,
Uh,
not right now.
All right, good people. We out. On to the next one. See y'all next time. Please like and share the video and keep subscribing. Tell whoever to subscribe. Still got to get to that mission of 1,000. But it's all good. I enjoyed the conversation, and who knows what we'll have in store for you next weekend. Again, if you have any questions and you say, "Hey, wait a minute, you said you went through 10, but you only covered like 5." Inboxes, whatever. We'll talk about it. And if y'all feel the need to continue, because all this stuff overlap. I've been saying that for years, but we out on to the
And
next.
FYI, if I'm slowing my speech next week, mind your business. I'm celebrating number 53.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. You looking for that? You looking for that crown, huh? That blackberry crown. I might have to pull up on you with the blackberry crown.
All right, man. Y'all be good, man. See y'all next time.
All right, man. Peace.